Hello fellow YouTubers, today's video I'm going to be talking about the seat I used to have on here, which some of you may remember was an old bench seat from a bench press. Now it was reasonably comfortable for the first hour or so when I was riding, but I was noticing that I was getting a numb bum from it, and secondly I was also starting to get very hot and sweaty because the vinyl wouldn't allow it to breathe. So I'm going to make a new type of seat. I think they call it a Bartlett seat, going by what I've read on most of the forums, the recumbent forums. It's a sort of a standard sort of bike that most recumbents use. I have started to form all the tubes, but in this particular shot I'm just going to cut off these sort of bits that the original seat I was fixed to, that I had on here. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. Okay, right, and away we go. Okay, well, the weld was stronger than I thought it was going to be. All those parts off, so now it's only a matter of removing the rear bracket, which is now it's only a matter of removing this bracket here, this one on this side and the one on the other side, and we'll be good to go. So, here we go, second one. Okay, so I've now cut all the extra metal off that was on there originally. This is one of the brackets. I'll show you the pair of them in a sec. So you can see sort of like that. It will be sitting something like that. There'll be a pair of them, I should say. They'll probably be that far out, but still. So you'll be able to see them. I'm not sure whether I've got this angle correct. They say in the instructions to make it to 90 degrees, but this is more so for a two-wheel recumbent rather than the three-wheel recumbent. Looking at most of the pictures of the three-wheel recumbents, they're all leaning back a little bit further, so I'm not sure. I may straighten it out just a little bit, so it is leaning back a little bit further, because at the present I don't know whether it's going to be quite right, but we may just play around with it a little bit. I'll have to wait and see. So what I've got to do is make up the two crossbars that will go between the two of these. I've got to have a crossbar between them. I've got to fix those, bend them. I'm going to braze all of this one together because the tubing is extremely thin on this metal piping. So I think I'm going to have to braze the whole lot together, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to get it to work without blowing a complete hole out of these things. So that's going to be the next thing to do. So that's where we're up to at the moment, and hopefully this will make quite a comfortable bike to ride from now on. So we'll be able to ride for more than a couple of hours and not get too hotty and sweaty. So I'm going to be using like a shade cloth material on the actual bike, and that stuff should breathe quite well. So rather than the old vinyl, the shade cloth should be quite a bit better. Okay, that's what we're up to at the moment. Uh-oh, sounds like we're running out of oxy. Not what we really want right now. Yep, we've just run out of oxygen. This is one of the problems with the small bottles. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll swap to the other system and we'll give that a go. Not having tried. This is the other one I have. I'll bring it down a bit further so you can actually see it. See? It's another map gas one, and it actually has a fairly big trigger system on it, okay, with a fairly big nozzle. So we'll give this a whirl and see how we go with this. Just move that a little bit further out so we don't set fire to everything, because this one throws quite a bit of heat. Okay, well, it's brazed up, but the brazing job is not quite as good as it is with the map gas and the oxy. So as you can see, the heat that this thing throws out is quite incredible compared to the, oh, and there you go, see, didn't hold at all, which is going to be a bit of a bummer now. Now I'm going to have to arc weld it together, or spot weld it together. So we might have to put something in there, which means I'm going to have to clean the whole thing up and start all over again. And hopefully that holds well, because the brazing didn't seem to like the gal, even though I cleaned it as well as I thought I had. But it's now arc welded together, and that's a lot stronger. Okay, so this is the support for the bottom of the seat. It's a bit too tall. I've just roughly worked out the height. I've welded it together now. You can see the joint. I probably would have been better off to have started and worked out roughly how wide I wanted everything and then worked it all out, but that's not how it worked. I sort of bent each end and then sort of figured out how wide I needed it and then cut it down and re-welded it. Okay, so we're up to that sort of stage. So what I'm going to do is cut the height down a little bit, and then I'm going to clamp this down. I'm going to start trying to work out where I'm going to fit the actual main uprights into the metal. Work out how far back I want to put them, okay? So once I've worked all that sort of stuff out, so it'll either be there or somewhere like that, I'm not sure exactly where, but I'll work it out as I go along. This is a bit of trial and error. So that's the main shape of the seat, as you can see. Sort of can't quite get it all in unless I get further back. There we go. So that's really about sort of like the shape and the angle it's going to be when it's on the bike. So it's going to be going back about there sort of thing, as you can see. So you can see roughly where it's going to sit. It's going to have a few brackets there. I think one underneath and maybe one at the back should be enough to hold it. Then I'm going to start working on the webbing, the seating material itself. I tried to work out roughly how wide to have the seat. So basically I've got a piece of plywood and sat on a piece of plywood and marked it either side of my arse and sort of think, right, I don't want it too tight. I want it to have enough, because if the material starts to sag a little bit, I don't want to be stuck on the metal piping. So I've added another 50mm, 25mm each side, just to give me a little bit of leeway to move around in. So hopefully that's more than enough, and that's what I came up with. So let's see how we go. Okay, so I'm going to switch the camera off for a moment. I'm going to cut this down, and then I'll go give it a bit of trial and error, and we'll see how we go. Well, there it is. It's been cut down. It's roughly the right height. It's the working height I'm going to try with. Okay, so now I'm reasonably happy with that. So what I'm going to do next is actually make another one. I need another one of roughly the same height, maybe a little bit lower. That'll go on the back upright, sort of up there. Okay, so that's going to be the next thing, is to make one of those. All right, so I'm going to go next door and do a little bit of bending and see how we go. Okay, so I'm ready to bend now. So this is the piece of steel I'm going to use, my gas bottle. And as you can see here, this is my very sophisticated bending device. Basically a couple of, I think it's 0.5 kilo weights, 2 of them, in the vise, per vise grip over the top. And the vise grips basically just hold the piece of steel in the right spot. Simple as that. So here we go. Basically we just have to get the metal red hot when it's starting to glow a nice red colour, and then slowly bend it.
Just do a quick check to make sure the angles are the same. Bit more to go.
That's it. Okay, next one. Right, so that's the second bend done now. It looks to be roughly the same shape and angle. The only issue would be once I cut the length down a little bit, it may not be wide enough, so I may actually have to warm it up and open the bends up just a little bit. So that's the basic shape at the moment, as you can see. So there's the original one, like that, and they're a pretty good match. I'm not going to get too close to those bends because they're still very hot, that steel. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down just a little bit, take a little bit off the end, possibly about that much. Yes, that was still a bit hot, I shouldn't have touched that. Cut it about halfway, I think, maybe 2/3 the way, and then I'll do the other side and I'll have a look at it and see how it matches up. If it still matches up the correct angle, fine, and I can start welding away. If not, well, I'll be heating it up and opening up the bends a little bit. Okay, so that's where we're up to at the moment. So back to the other side of the workshop and we'll start playing around with these. Still mighty warm. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so there it is. Cut. Pretty hard when you're looking at a monitor and looking at things back to front. There it is though. It's not too bad. It should be about the right height. Still just a little warm to hold. Okay, so there's that one. There's this one, and it's going to be something like that, isn't it? Yes. These are the two pieces of pipe. What I'm going to have to do is what they call a fish mouth. I'm going to have to grind sort of like the sides down here so that the pipe sits into, so there's hardly anything, any gaps or anything like that, so that when I go to arc weld it, we won't have too much of a problem, okay? So that's going to be the next step, is to actually put it into the vise and file these things down just a little bit. It's always a lot of fun trying these sorts of things out, so I'll take it into the workshop and give it a bit of a whirl. So I'll be back. Well, I managed to get the frames sort of roughly put together, and I'll just give you a quick sort of look at it. If I can turn it around, there we go. It goes down and across and over there. Now I'm ready to at least tack weld it together and see how I go from there. I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjustment here and there, but it's only minor, so I'll get the heat gun out and the blowtorch, and I'll try and adjust things just a little bit so they're all exactly the same, but other than that we're doing pretty good. So there you go. Bugger. Right, that's that part done. Looks like it's welded there. Not sure about that bit. Let's have a quick look. I haven't welded the inside of that bit, have I? Okay. Okay. Right. Move that because it's going to be on fire in a minute. Right, another welding rod would be a good idea. We should move that too. Time for another welding rod, and we'll just keep going around. So basically I'm just tack welding it. I'm not doing too much welding because if I heat it up too much I'm liable to melt everything. So at the moment it's a matter of tack welding and then coming back to it. Right, that's a bit better. Okay, right, I'll give it a bit of a tap. Everything's been holding. Yeah, bit of weld on that one, might do a bit more. Spin the old wheels around a bit. Might be a bit better. Okay. Careful. Always have to be careful with the welding rod, because you touch anything metal on the bike, it's basically going to weld itself to it. So we have to be always very vigilant when we're doing this, that we're not going to weld ourselves to something. Well, what I might do now is, now that I've got the basic shape, is take the actual frame off, flip it upside down and weld from underneath. Just going to have to be a bit careful because it's going to be freaking hot, isn't it? We don't want to burn ourselves again. Right. Right, so I've welded it all together. I'm going to let it cool down. It might be the end of it for tonight. It's about 5:30. And tomorrow, if I get some time, I'll make up some steel brackets to actually fix it onto the actual trike, and then I can look at making up the webbing seat. So we'll all go from there, and hopefully this will help with the more comfortable ride, and we'll see how we go from there. But it's not looking too bad. I really enjoyed making this. The only issue I have had whilst making this is that arc welding with a stick welder has to be one of the most difficult way of doing things. I may actually look at getting myself a MIG or a TIG for the next adventure. Start near Jackson and goes all the way to Mount Logan.